I wasn't looking for anything creepy. I was looking for quiet. It was a weekday hike, took off work, drove out early, figured I'd knock out a loop trail I'd bookmarked months ago and never touched. The kind of state forest trail where the sign at the kiosk is sun-faded, the map is scratched up, and the warnings are mostly about ticks and not leaving food in your car. The parking area had 3 cars. 2 were dusty. One had a baby seat visible through the window. That made me feel better, weirdly. Like, okay, other normal humans exist out here today. I stuffed my phone in my pack, turned on airplane mode to save battery, and started walking. The first 2 miles were easy. Packed dirt. Gentle climbs. Enough foot traffic that the path was obvious. I passed a creek with water running fast from recent rain. I saw fresh deer tracks in a muddy patch where the trail narrowed. Then the trail split. The official route went left. There was a small wooden arrow bolted to a post. The arrow was cracked but still legible. To the right, there was a faint spur with no marker. Just a narrow break in ferns, like someone had walked it often enough to keep it from disappearing. I stood there longer than I should be, weighing it like it mattered. It didn't feel like a wrong turn decision. It felt like a curiosity decision. I went right. The spur was quieter almost immediately, like the trees got closer together. The ground stayed firm, but the trail got narrower and more uneven. It wasn't overgrown enough to feel abandoned, though. It felt maintained, in a lazy way. Like it had a purpose. After another 15 minutes, I noticed something that didn't belong, a strip of blue plastic tied to a branch. Not a trail marker. Not official. Just a piece of plastic bag twisted tight around bark. Then another one. Then another. They weren't spaced evenly, but they were consistent enough that I stopped telling myself it was trash. Someone had marked this path. My first thought was hunters. My second thought was kids. My third thought was the one I didn't like. Someone wanted people to find something. I should be turned around. I didn't. You always hear people say that in stories I should be turned around, and it sounds like a dramatic line. In real life, it's a quiet thought you ignore because nothing bad has happened yet. A mile later, the trees opened into a small clearing. And there it was. A cabin. Not a nice cabin. Not a cute weekend getaway cabin. A squat, gray structure with a sagging roof, boards split from weather, and one window missing glass entirely. The front door was closed but crooked in the frame like it didn't sit right anymore. It sat there like it had been placed. Not hidden. Not swallowed by the woods. Just there, in the center of the clearing, as if the forest had decided to give it space. My first instinct was excitement. The dumb kind. The this is a cool find kind. My second instinct, faster, colder, was the feeling that I wasn't alone. It wasn't a sound. It wasn't a movement. It was the pressure of being watched, like when you walk into a room and someone is already staring at you from the corner. I stood at the edge of the clearing and scanned. Trees. Brush. Nothing obvious. No birds calling. Even the insects felt quieter, like the place had its own rules. I told myself, it's an old hunting cabin. People build these. You're not special. Then I saw the footprints. Not mine. Bare footprints in the dirt near the cabin's front step. Not clear enough to see every toe, but clear enough to see the shape. Human feet, medium size, pressed deep. And there were several sets. They weren't scattered like hikers milling around. They clustered near the door and the window, like people had stood there for a while. My throat went dry. I should be left right then. No debate. Just back down the spur trail and pretend I never saw it. Instead, I walked closer, because my brain wanted an explanation that fit inside normal. I stopped on the cabin's front step. The wood creaked under my boot. I listened. Nothing. I put my hand on the door. It wasn't locked. That fact bothered me more than if it had been. I pushed it open slowly. The smell hit first. Stale wood, damp rot, and something sour underneath that didn't belong in an empty building. Not exactly decay. More like old sweat and wet fur. Inside, it was dim. Light came in through the missing window and a few cracks in the walls. Dust floated in the beam like glitter you didn't want. The place was one room. A broken table. A rusted stove. A cot frame without a mattress. And the walls were covered. Not graffiti like teenagers. Not help carved by someone lost. These were deliberate markings. Writings, over and over, in uneven lines. Some of it looked like words. Some of it was just repeated symbols that my brain couldn't settle on. Like someone had tried to write and forgot how halfway through. There were also effigies. Bundles of sticks tied with twine and strips of cloth. Some had bits of hair woven through. Some had small bones, bird bones, maybe tied at the center like jewelry. They hung from nails in the beams, swaying slightly in the draft. I didn't step in far. I stayed near the door, half in, half out, ready to back up. I tried to read the wall closest to me. One phrase stood out because it was repeated in a more recognizable hand. Stay quiet, stay quiet, stay quiet. Below that, scratched deeper, like someone was angry. They hear you thinking. That made my stomach do a slow turn. Because it was stupid. Because it was impossible. Because the idea still put cold in my chest. I reached for my phone. No service, obviously. Airplane mode still on. I flicked it off anyway out of reflex. The screen lit up and the brightness felt wrong in that room, like I'd brought a flashlight into someone else's sleep. A sound came from outside. Not footsteps. Not a twig snap. A soft clicking noise. Like teeth. I froze and listened. It came again, closer, then stopped. My mouth went dry. I realized I'd been holding my breath and forced myself to exhale quietly. Something brushed the outside wall. A slow scrape, like a palm dragging along boards. Then a whisper, so faint I thought I imagined it at first. Not a word. A breathy human sound, like someone trying to imitate speech without knowing how. I backed toward the doorway. And then I saw movement in the missing window. A face. Just for a second. Human-shaped, but wrong. Too thin. Skin tight over cheekbones. Eyes dark and fixed. Hair matted to the scalp. It vanished before my brain could grab it. I stepped backward out of the cabin and turned to scan the clearing. Nothing. Just trees. Then behind me the effigies inside the cabin shifted slightly, like something had moved through the room. A laugh sound came from the tree line. Not a normal laugh. A short, broken burst that sounded like someone had learned it from far away. My heart started hammering. Hello. I called, immediately regretting it. My voice sounded too loud. The woods answered with silence. Then the cabin door moved. Not closing. Something on the other side pressed against it. Slowly. Deliberately. The door bulged outward a fraction, creaking in the frame, like someone was leaning into it from inside. My skin went cold. I hadn't gone deep enough into the cabin for anyone to slip past me. Unless they'd been in there already. Unless they'd been quiet. I stepped back, hands up like that would help. The door creaked again and then it burst open. A person came out low and fast, almost on all fours. They were naked from the waist up, filthy, ribs visible. Their skin was grayish with grime and old bruises. Their mouth was stretched in a grin that wasn't happy, just exposed teeth. Their hands were too dirty to tell where the nails ended and the filth began, but the nails looked long and broken. They didn't hesitate. They grabbed at me like I was food. I shoved hard and stumbled back, nearly going down. My boot caught the step.